This is Miss Collins, and if I had to choose where a magical wardrobe would transport me, I would choose to go to the future because I really want to know if this coronavirus thing will be over. I will be reading Chapter 4, Turkish Delight, from the novel The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Chapter 4, Turkish Delight. "But what are you?" said the queen again. "Are you a great overgrown dwarf that has cut off its beard?" "No, your majesty," said Edmund. "I have never had a beard. I am a boy." "A boy," she said. "Do you mean you are a son of Adam?" Edmund stood still, saying nothing. He was too confused by this time to understand what the question meant. "I see you're an idiot. Whatever else you may be," said the queen, "answer me once and for all, or I shall lose my patience. Are you human?" "Yes, your majesty," said Edmund. "And how, pray, did you come to enter my dominions?" "Please, your majesty, I came through a wardrobe." "A wardrobe? What do you mean?" I opened the door and found myself here, your majesty," said Edmund. "Ha!" said the queen, speaking more like herself than to him. "A door! A door from the world of men! I have heard of such things. This may wreck all, but he is only one, and he is easily dealt with." As she spoke these words, she rose from her seat and looked Edmund full in the face, her eyes flaming. At the same point, she raised her wand. Edmund felt sure she was going to do something dreadful, but he seemed unable to move. Then, just as he gave himself up for lost, she appeared to change her mind. "My poor child," she said in quite a different voice, "how cold you look. Come and sit with me here on the sledge, and I will put my mantle round you and we will talk." Edmund did not like this arrangement at all, but he dared not disobey. He stepped onto the sledge and sat at her feet, and she put the fold of her fur mantle round him and tucked it in well. "Perhaps something hot to drink," said the queen. "Should you like that?" "Yes, please, your majesty," said Edmund, whose teeth were chattering. The queen took from somewhere among her wrappings a very small bottle which looked as if it were made of copper. Then, holding out her arm, she let one drop fall from it on the snow beside the sledge. Edmund saw the drop for a second in mid-air, shining like a diamond. But the moment it touched the snow, there was a hissing sound, and there stood a jeweled cup full of something that steamed. The dwarf immediately took this and handed it to Edmund with a bow and a smile. Not a very nice smile. Edmund felt much better as he began to sip the hot drink. It was something he had never tasted before, very sweet and foamy and creamy, and it warmed him right down to his toes. "It is dull, son of Adam, to drink without eating," the queen presently. "What would you like best to eat?" "Turkish delight, please, your majesty," said Edmund. The queen let another drop fall from her bottle onto the snow, and instantly there appeared a round box tied with green silk ribbon, which, when opened, turned out to contain several pounds of the best Turkish delight. Each piece was sweet and light to the very center of Edmund, and Edmund had never tasted anything more delicious. He was quite warm now, and very comfortable. While he was eating, the Queen kept asking him questions. At first, Edmund tried to remember that it was rude to speak with one's mouth full, but soon he forgot about this and thought only of trying to shovel down as much Turkish delight as he could. And the more he ate, the more he wanted to eat, and he had never asked himself why the Queen should be so inquisitive. She got him to tell her that he had one brother and two sisters, and that one of his sisters had already been in Narnia and had met a faun there, and that no one except himself and his older brother and sisters knew anything about Narnia. She seemed especially interested in the fact that there were only 4 of them, and kept coming back to it. "You are sure there are just 4 of you?" she said. "2 sons of Adam and 2 daughters of Eve? Neither more nor less?" And Edmund, with his mouth full of Turkish delight, kept on saying, "Yes, I told you that before," and forgetting to call her Your Majesty, but she didn't seem to mind now. At last the Turkish delight was all finished, and Edmund was looking very hard at the empty box, and wishing that she would ask him whether he would like some more. Probably the Queen knew quite well what he was thinking, for she knew, though Edmund did not, that this was enchanted Turkish delight, and that anyone who had once tasted it would want more and more of it, and would even, if they were allowed, go on eating it till they killed themselves. But she did not offer him any more. Instead, she said to him, "Son of Adam, I should so much like to see your brother and your 2 sisters. Will you bring them to see me?" "I'll try," said Edmund, still looking at the empty box. "Because if you did come again, bringing them with you, of course, I'll be able to give you some more Turkish delight. I can't do it now. The magic would only work once, but in my own house it would be another matter." "Why can't we go to your house now?" said Edmund. When he had first got onto the sledge, he had been afraid that she might drive away with him to some unknown place from which he would not be able to get back. But he had forgotten all about that fear now. "It is a lovely place, my house," said the Queen. "I am sure you would like it. There are whole rooms full of Turkish delight, and what's more, I have no children of my own. I want a nice boy whom I could bring up as the prince, and who would be the king of Narnia when I am gone. While he was prince, he would wear a gold crown and eat Turkish delight all day long, and you are much the cleverest and handsomest young man I have ever met. I think I would like to make you the prince some day, when you bring the others to visit me." "Why not now?" said Edmund. His face had become very red, and his mouth and fingers were sticky. He did not look either clever or handsome, whatever the Queen might say. "Oh, but if I took you there now," she said, "you shouldn't see your brother and sisters. I very much want to know your charming relations. You are to be the prince, and, later on, the king. That is understood. But you must have courtiers and nobles. I will make your brother a duke and your sisters duchesses." "There's nothing special about them," said Edmund. "And anyway, I could always bring them some other time." But once you were in my house," said the Queen, "you might forget all about them. You would be enjoying yourself so much that you wouldn't want the bother of going to fetch them. No, you must go back to your own country now, and come with me another day. With them, you understand. It is no good coming without them." "But I don't even know the way back to my own country," pleaded Edmund. "That's easy," answered the queen. "Do you see that lamp?" She pointed with her wand, and Edmund turned and saw the same lamp-post under which Lucy had met the fawn. "Straight on, beyond that is the way back to the world of men. And now look the other way," here she pointed at the opposite direction, "and tell me if you can see two little hills rising above the trees." "I think I can," said Edmund. "Well, my house is between those two hills, so next time you come, you have only to find the lamp-post and look for those two hills, and walk through the wood till you reach my house. But remember, you must bring the others with you. I might have to be very angry with you if you came alone." "I'll do my best," said Edmund. "And by the way," said the queen, "you needn't tell them about me. It would be fun to keep it a secret between us two, wouldn't it? Make a surprise for them. Just bring them along with the two hills. To the two hills. A clever boy like you will easily think of some excuse for that. And when you come to my house, you could just say, 'Let's see who lives here,' or something like that. I am sure that it would be best. If your sister has met one of the fawns, she may have heard some strange stories about me. Nasty stories that might make her afraid to come to me. Fawns will say anything, you know. And now—" "Please, please," said Edmund suddenly, "please couldn't I just have one more piece of Turkish delight to eat on the way home?" "No, no," said the queen with a laugh. "You must wait until next time." When she spoke, she signaled the dwarf to drive on, but as the sledge swept away out of sight, the queen waved to Edmund, calling out, "Next time! Next time! Don't forget, come soon." Edmund was still staring after the sledge when he heard someone calling his own name, and looking around he saw Lucy coming toward him from another part of the wood. "Oh, Edmund," she cried, you've got into. Isn't it wonderful now?" "All right," said Edmund. "I can see you were right, and it's a magical wardrobe after all. I'll say I'm sorry if you like, but where on the earth have you been all this time? I've been looking for you everywhere." "If I had known you had gotten in, I would have waited for you," said Lucy, who was happy and excited to notice how snappishly Edmund spoke, or how flushed and strange his face was. "I've been having lunch with Mr. Dear Tumnus, the fawn, and he is very well, and the White Witch has done nothing to him for letting me go. So he thinks she can't have found out, or perhaps everything is going to be all right after all." "The White Witch?" said Edmund. "Who is she?" "She is a perfectly terrible person," said Lucy. "She calls herself the Queen of Narnia, though she has no right to be the queen at all. And all the fauns and dryads and naiads and dwarfs and animals, at least all the good ones, simply hate her. And she can turn people into stone and do all kinds of horrible things. And she has magic so that it is always winter in Narnia, always winter, but it never gets to Christmas. And she drives about on a sledge drawn by reindeer, with her wand in her hand and a crown on her head." Edmund was already feeling uncomfortable from having eaten too many sweets, and when he heard that the lady he had made friends with was a dangerous witch, he felt even more uncomfortable. But he still wanted to taste that Turkish delight again, more than he wanted anything else. "Who told you all that stuff about the White Witch?" he asked. "Mr. Tumnus, the fawn," said Lucy. "You can't always believe what fawns say," said Edmund, trying to sound as if he knew far more about them than Lucy. "Who said so?" asked Lucy. Everyone knows it, said Edmund. Ask anyone you like.